What's up guys, Barry Game here, back with some more AFK Journey, and today we are going to be talking about a PvP tier list. Last week we did a video talking about like one of the best PvP team compositions that's out there, and a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy that video. Now, just to preface this, PvP is very heavily pay to win. Most of these heroes that are going to be considered S tier on this list, well, they are basically up there because of their exclusive, which means you do need them at Mythic Plus. Are they completely useless without it? No, definitely not useless. They're just nowhere near as good. However, we will mention each hero, whether they really need their exclusive to be in the tier they're in. Without that, they probably drop about one single tier. But a lot of these heroes can be useful very early on, and there's actually a lot of A-level heroes that are very strong in PvP. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Make sure you guys take 1 second, hit that subscribe button. We got that 20,000 subscriber giveaway going on in the description down below. And let's talk about PvP tier list. Okay, it's time out to break out the big tier list here because we're going to go over some of the best right off the bat, and the best ones all require Mythic Plus. Carolina going way up the top because her amount of crowd control and AoE damage is just like second to none. She's probably one of the best damage dealers for PvP and absolutely busted. Damien, so I'm going to put Damien way up here because as far as A-level heroes goes, he's absolutely amazing. He is a supporter, he heals, and the best part is he's not even on the battlefield, so he's not a liability, potentially dying off early on. He also has some summons that might grab some aggro, deal some damage, and on top of that, he can stun the furthest enemy in the formation, so he is very, very strong. After that, we're going to move to another hero that really does require Mythic Plus to shine the most. However, still very good even if he's not at Mythic Plus. Aaron. So the fact that when you do get him to Mythic Plus, he can make that big old tornado, pull everybody in the enemy formation together. That's just so good. And then if he uses his ultimate later on, if you don't have Mythic Plus, a lot of times is grouping enemies for heroes like Carolina, Cessia, things like that to just do some crazy amounts of damage. After that, we are going with a celestial hero, Scarlita. We haven't really talked about her much because, well, she is like pretty much just a whale type hero. Really anything outside of Rainier is whale territory, and even Rainier, who we're about to put right behind her, is still whale territory when you want to talk about getting him to exclusive plus 10. That's where he swaps the hero, and that hero takes 25% less damage, which is amazing. Teleporting the other enemy hero over to your side is still good even before that, and when you do get him unlocked with the exclusive, even just at 20 Mythic Plus, you don't even need it to be like plus 5 or anything. You're already doing more damage to that target, so manipulating the battlefield, especially when you're on offense, stealing a support hero and putting it in the middle of all your damage dealers, that is just like second to none. After this, we are going to talk about Odie. Odie's another A level that is going to go up in this S tier. Now, I feel like for PvP, his exclusive is really important. I don't know if you guys have seen it. We'll actually be having a video on Odie very soon. He has the ability to execute heroes. As he deals more damage after he uses his ultimate, there will be a little bar that slides up, and if it goes past the amount of HP that target currently has, they instantly die. The positive of that is, if for some reason your bar keeps going up, but then they get a heal even after that, a lot of times it'll still execute it through it. It'll go through shields, all that fun stuff. Before his exclusive, he is a bit weaker. I would probably, again, drop him down a tier, maybe to A tier without his exclusive. But either way, still really, really good. After him, we're going to go to the hero I think a lot of people have their hands on, and that is going to be Rowan. Rowan is really strong for the fact that, number one, he has gigantic heals, even bigger ones when he has his exclusive. But most importantly, he doesn't need his exclusive because he can feed energy to your entire team to get them their ultimates faster. And that is probably one of the most important parts of this entire thing. Surviving and getting ultimates off, especially with some of these heroes up the top, who does it better than Thorin? Because Thorin can revive, and then of course when he does get his exclusive, he gets an extra life, but it's not quite necessary. Even just a regular Thorin is going to be good. He's going to die, he's going to be able to come back, take more aggro from the enemy team, and then he'll be pretty solid in the front row. Now, the next one is kind of a struggle. I was thinking about putting him in the S tier. I kind of want to put him more in the A tier. He is an A level hero, so keep that in mind. This is a hero that ranked very poorly overall on the overall tier list, but Arden is very, very strong. Very good crowd control, and especially for an A level hero, it's really good. He's good in like the late story too, but he's kind of just crap everywhere else. But if it comes to CC and it comes to PvP, Arden is definitely one of your picks. Now, again, another whale bait type hero that you probably will never build on your account. Belial, what can I say? All the Celestials and Hypogeans are really, really strong. Like, you can't even go wrong. DNL, same thing. He has insane amounts of AoE damage. If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably say DNL is the better overall hero and maybe even better PvP hero. It just depends on your team setups, but he can be very strong. After that, we're going to talk about a hero that we don't speak of a lot because usually Shakir is the one we talk about, but Seth is still very strong. And honestly, Seth is good in he's like really good in every game mode. He's just not the best at any one thing. And PvP is very similar. Tons of damage, jumps to the backline enemies. Very solid hero. But again, it's like when you compare all the maulers in the game, Coco, Brutus, Smokey, and Tundra, Reese, like there's just Shakir, there's so many heroes you want to go for. Sadly, he just drops off. If he was in any other faction, you would most likely be summoning for him, putting him on your wish list and everything, but sadly, that's not going to be the case. Now, next up, we have probably the next best tank to Thorin, and even better if you're doing a strategy with like Aaron or something like that, and that is Granny. Granny has that really awesome ultimate that just roots everybody in place, saps away energy. Really, really awesome. Keep her in mind. She is a very good pick if you want a tank in the front line. You know who the most annoying hero in the game is when you're facing? Igor. You know who sometimes doesn't feel strong when he's on your team? Sometimes Igor. But Igor can be amazing, and I'm going to be highlighting a combination in PvP that's a little disgusting a little bit later on in the week that involves Igor and Niru. It's a very interesting combo. It's almost like a good defensive team because it's near impossible to kill him off. And yeah, he's just really annoying. Keep that in mind. One hero I borderline didn't want to put in A tier, I kind of wanted to bump him down to B tier, is Shakir. Shakir is very strong, but again, he feels like he lacks at times where others don't. He does have leech, he uses his ultimate, and then he stays in his charged up form. He can be very strong. I do think he's on the weaker side of the A tier overall. Still very, very good, but keep him in mind. One hero you guys have probably seen a lot right now, and I'm going to bump her even further up on the list, is Vala. Vala, that mark to mark an enemy support hero is so crucial, and it's so good just sniping that support hero on the back line, and on top of that, preventing them from getting their ultimates off. Very, very good hero in my opinion. Like, very good. Borderline, like, maybe even closer to S tier. But when you get to like late game PvP, she falls off. Early game PvP, she's very strong, even at one single copy, just to reject what the enemies can do. So keep that in mind. Still very good in the late game, but overall pretty solid uses. I'm going to try to fit a few more guys and girls on screen because there's more that I want to put in the A tier without bumping it too far off. Let's go with our girl, Coco. I mean, Coco is just super strong support. She's basically useful in every single game mode. Hands down, she's an A-level best support hero in the game. You already know why you build Coco. She kind of does the same thing in PvP. So definitely keep her in mind. Another support hero is Hwyn, or Hwyn. I forget how you say her name, but she ends up being really strong in the late game, and then PvP, she's still a really solid pick. Good AoE healing. It doesn't matter where she is on the battlefield. She's going to be able to heal your main heroes, and that means really, really strong things. So yeah, not too bad. After that, we got to keep Ceci up on this list. Honestly, I'd put Ceci a little higher up just because her ultimate is so strong. She feels like a really, really good hero to use almost all the time. And overall, I mean, as long as Vala's not targeting her, she's going to get Mr. Carlisle out, and then she's going to just completely wipe the enemy team out. So definitely use that hero. First hero I'm putting in the B tier, could borderline be an A tier, is Viperion. Now, Viperion, again, if you do get his exclusive, he does some really good, crazy damage. Even without it, he's still pretty solid. He has ways to steal life and such, which is a premium when you come to PvP, especially if he gets down to like a one-on-one situation. pretty good. We're gonna move and go to two assassin rogue type heroes next, and we're going to throw on Sylvina and, oh my gosh, where's Salazar? I can't see. Oh, here he is. They're both really solid in PvP. I would say out of the two, Sylvina is probably the stronger out of the two. Sylvina and Viperian, like I said, could probably bump up in the A tier. It's kind of like borderline for me. They could be better, but overall still really, really solid heroes. Now, I'm putting Niru on here at B. Man, look at all these Graveborn just lining up right in the middle of the tier list. Like, all of them are mid-tier list. So Niru has some niche uses. And like I said, if you do pair him with Igor, it can be an absolutely disgusting combo. Really, really good. Besides that, he is sometimes a liability because he does want to move into melee range. So keep that in mind. He can be good, can be bad. Yeah. Next hero I personally haven't had a lot of experience with, but everybody I've talked to said I have to put her at least in the B tier. That's Parisa. So if you're a fan, I know there's a few people in comments and videos are like, oh my god, Barrett, you have to try Parisa. She's really, really good. Same thing with Brian. Brian's like, they both fall in that same category where they're like pretty good, but like borderline. Do you want to build them? Are there better options? And they both kind of fall in there. So they're good, not necessarily the best at anything. After that, we're going to be throwing two tanky heroes up here from the Mauler faction. Where are you? Oh my gosh, actually, hold on. There she is. Antandra and Brutus. So Brutus and Antandra, you guys have already heard about them. You know why they're good. It's also why they're pretty decent in PvP. They help your team survive. And they're pretty good. You know who else helps your team survive? Smokey. Yeah, all these Maulers falling right in the middle tier here, but still very, very good. So yeah, keep that in mind. Tamesia is probably another one that would fall in the A tier. And to kind of finish off this list, we do have the C and D tiers. They are not really the best in this. Like, Kruger is one of my favorite heroes, but he just doesn't cut it. Some of the other heroes, they just don't have those power-ups at their exclusive weapon to really get them unlocked. I'd say Reese, maybe you could bump up a tier, maybe Merrily, maybe Lucius, but I feel like this is a solid list to go off of if you guys are wondering about PvP and where to go with your team. Granted, remember, PvP is a very small part of the game, and maybe focusing on it isn't the best, but if you want to know what heroes might work best together, this might help you a little bit. And then, of course, learning their abilities, see what synergizes together, and building the awesome best PvP team possible. So, hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would you move anybody up or down the tier list? I'd love to hear you guys' feedback, and I'll see you guys next time.